All right, folks, we're going to get started here. Good evening and welcome to the September 2025 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person today are my fellow board members, Amanda Bogner, Mike Kavanaugh, Sarah Howard, John Hudson, Craig Moody, Mary Spurgeon, and Eric Williams. We also have CEO Javier Fernandez, Tim Thalkin with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, our general counsel, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts are also participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we currently have 40 members of the public at the Civic Center and 12 attendees on WebEx, consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'll now ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Doug Peterchuk. I'm the Director of Enterprise Security here at OPPD. A few things I want to cover. I think we all know that typical entrance and exit are back there, but we do have two exit doors here on the side, but right here behind the partitions. Both go down to a stairwell. Both lead to an exit to outside the building. If we were to leave the building, in case of an emergency, we will congregate on the north side of the building here in the courtyard. If weather becomes severe, which it doesn't look like it is, but it's obviously raining outside, those same stairwells, everybody will get down to the stairwells and down into a lower basement into the garage, where that's where we'll congregate related to if there was a storm related event. Fire suppression. There are fire extinguishers again here, right by the doors. Both are green and active and good to go. First aid equipment is also by the doors, but we also have one in the back room. Just a reminder, and this is near and dear to my heart, as I've done CPR several times on loved ones. CPR is a life skill. Know it, learn it. You never know when you need to do it. But we also have an AED in the back here. If anyone needs assistance, please let myself know, or your neighbor know, or any of our officers know, and we'll help you out. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to you, Director Core. Thank you.
Thanks, Doug. Now let's run through our guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. This regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. This meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferencing and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are part of the official public record. After the introduction of action items, board members will ask clarifying questions of staff, and then I'll ask for public comment. After public comment, the board will conduct its discussion of the matter and then vote. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on any other matters of district business. We'll take comments in the room first, then via WebEx. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we'll use the timer that's in the room. Ms. Lane will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please deliver them to Ms. Lane. For WebEx attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please send the meeting host a message using the chat feature or utilize the hand raise feature. Detailed instructions can be found on the OPPD website at the link shown on the screen. When I call on a member of the public to speak, please affirm that we can hear you before commencing with your comments. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual on WebEx will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we'll use the timer on the screen and signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please email them to corporatesecretary@oppd.com, and they will be received on our behalf. For all attendees, please direct your comments to me. I'll either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, speakers should refrain from repetitious, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speakers shall refrain from polling the board, as such vote is not on the agenda and prohibited by law. Ms. Lane, will you please take the roll?
Here. Bogner. Here. Kavanaugh.
Here.
Core.
Here.
Howard. Here. Hudson.
Here.
Moody.
Here.
Spurgeon. Here. Williams.
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by publicizing in the Omaha World Herald and Nebraska Press Association, OPPD outlets newsletter, OPPD.com, and social media. By displaying such notice on the first level of Blue Cross Blue Shield, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on September 12, 2025. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on oppd.com and in the meeting room. Our consent agenda action items are: Item 6, approval of the July 2025 financial reports, August 2025 meeting minutes, August 2025 board governance workshop minutes, and September 18, 2025 agenda. Item 7, 2026 board meeting schedule, resolution number 6727. Item 8, SD10 ethics monitoring report, resolution number 6728. Item 9, GP14 board expense reimbursement refinement, resolution number 6729.
Motion approved.
So if there aren't any corrections or changes or additions, we need a second to
Second.
Director Kavanaugh's motion. Thank you. We discussed these action items at the all committees meeting on Tuesday, September 16th. Do any members of the public in the room have comments on these consent agenda items? If you have any comments, please come to the podium. All right, seeing no comments in the room, do any members of the public on WebEx have a comment? Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. All right, thank you. With no comments online, Ms. Lane, will you please take the roll?
Wagner? Yes. Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Core?
Yes.
Howard? Yes. Hudson?
Yes.
Moody?
Yes.
Spurgeon?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. The discussion action item this evening is SD9 Integrated System Planning Monitoring Report, Resolution number 6730. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors accepts the monitoring report for SD9 Integrated System Planning in the form as set forth on Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, and finds OPPD to be sufficiently in compliance with the policy as stated.
I move the approval of the resolution.
Thank you, and we need a second, please.
Second.
Great. We've talked about this. This is one of the monitoring reports, annual monitoring reports, and we talked about this on Tuesday. There are 6 bullet points that are reflected in the presentation about SD9. There was a presentation by staff that highlights the progress we've made toward each of these bullet points throughout the course of the last 12 months. At this time, I just wanted to check with the directors and see if anybody has any technical or clarifying questions. We did have some discussion about this on Tuesday. So the first part of the process is, do we have any clarifying questions from staff? Okay.
I am, for everybody's awareness, I'd like if someone could please describe the current demand on the electrical system in the OPPD footprint. This plan is designed to respond to that.
I can try, and maybe I can ask for some help. It is very high. I think we've said this before. In terms of load growth or electricity demand growth, this is the highest period of time ever since OPPD was formed in 1946. The second highest period of time was back in the 1970s when air conditioning units were coming to market and there was a lot of need for electricity. What we have today is larger than that, both in terms of megawatts and percentage points. We've been seeing this growth probably, I would say, probably from the 2017-18 timeframe all the way to now. We continue to receive requests for more and more companies, businesses that want and need power to interconnect. Some of those requests usually come to us in the early stages of a business, looking at different regions, where can they locate. Some of those don't materialize, but we have a pretty high likelihood of a very high number of megawatts that we know that they're coming and they're waiting to interconnect. So it is very high demand.
Thank you. Is OPPD required to provide more electricity or have more on hand than is actually required to serve our load?
Yes, so that is called the, we belong to the Southwest Power Pool, which is a regional transmission organization. We, along with other 13 states, we pool all of our resources so that we can help each other out all the time. That is a very efficient way of using the system, but it still requires each of us participants to have some reserve in hand, just in case some of our generation is not available. If we have any of our power plants that have some mechanical issues, or the wind's not blowing, the sun's not shining, things happen. We need to have a reserve. That reserve used to be 12% above our peak load. Our peak load, because the hottest day of the year, that's when the demand is the highest. We have to have 12% more than that. That used to be the case in 2018, 2019. That today is 16%. It went from 12% to 16%. We have to have a lot more reserves on hand. This is going to 17% in a couple of years. And probably the most important thing to notice here is that we didn't used to have a separate metric for the winter months. But winter months now are another big concern for the system, as more and more homes are using electricity to heat homes, et cetera. So that margin went from 15%, it's going to 36% starting next year, up to 38% 2 years after that. So significantly more reserves that we need, not necessarily to serve more people or more customers, it's just to have more reserves to reduce the probability of rolling blackouts or, heaven forbid, a complete blackout. Does that help?
That's helpful. Thank you. So that's a third more for winter
Correct.
to account, that's kind of big. You mentioned that the reserve is needed for what I guess I call planned outages when I take my car to the shop because I want to take it to the shop, not because it decides it needs to go to the shop. That's planned outage. So do we need reserves for that sort of thing, planned or unplanned? Does that figure in that as well?
Yeah, so that's part of the calculation. The 16% and the 36% that I mentioned takes into account that. However, there's another change that the Southwest Power Pool is implementing, which is now performance-based accreditation. To say, we need to make sure that your units, when you tell us that they're available, that they are truly available. If they're not available for whatever reason, planned or unplanned, we used to just be able to accredit that unit regardless, but now our margins and our operators are getting worried enough that they're saying, we cannot allow you to count on a unit that really is not there when we need it the most. So that element is also affecting us because some of the plants that we have used to accredit at a higher rate, and there's a possibility that they will accredit lower if we have unplanned outages and they're not available when the market calls for them.
Then we're stuck.
Yes.
Yes, and we're stuck. Do OPPD's fossil fuel plants have a role to play in resource planning, integrated system planning?
Yes. And you will see these later on my report. The way I typically explain this is our resource portfolio, our generation portfolio is in many ways very similar to anyone's investment portfolio, where diversification is important. All the different technologies that we have available to us provide different characteristics to the system. Fossil fuel plants, be it coal, gas, fuel oil, are what our operators call dispatchable. We get to control when we turn them on, how we ramp them up, how we ramp them down, when we turn them off. Another form of generation which we no longer have is a nuclear generation. That one is still dispatchable. It's harder to ramp up and down, but it is one that we can control the output. They provide a very, very important role in our mission to provide reliable service. Equally important is the role that our renewable portfolio plays in the portfolio. Part of it is because the fuel needed to run a wind farm or a solar farm is provided by the Almighty. I mean, it's there. We don't have to pay for fuel. The downside is, as much as we can predict and forecast wind and solar irradiance, we cannot consider those assets as dispatchable, right? So they play different roles. We need the energy provided by renewable generation. The capacity provided by those assets is much smaller than the capacity provided by fossil fuels. Conversely, the energy provided by fossil fuels, generally speaking, is less economical than the energy provided by renewables. So they play off of each other, and that's how we maintain the system on balance.
So I hear you say you have dispatchable, you have what comes from the more gentle solar and wind.
Intermittent.
Intermittent,
Yep.
yes. And then how all that also figures into the finances and how all that has to play nicely together, we hope, but there can be tensions between that.
Correct.
Yeah. Just one more, and maybe you answered this already in your opening remarks, but how would you characterize the nature of the electric utility industry today as compared to, say, 5 years ago, or maybe 1 year ago? Has anything changed?
I'm gonna give you my opinion, informed by what we hear, what we live here on the utility day to day, but also by conversations I've had many times with other utility CEOs, just as recently as yesterday. The status of the American electric utility today, I would say, is we are in a significant growth mode. Generally speaking, with many exceptions, but generally speaking, in the nation, we haven't really built significant amounts of new generation in the past couple of decades. Why is that? Part of it is because in the past couple of decades, we really hadn't seen the growth of electric demand that we're seeing today. Whatever growth in electric demand we used to see was offset typically by advancements in energy efficiency, appliances, and other. Today, we're waking up to the reality that there's significant growth in electric demand, and we're looking back and we're seeing an asset base that it's aging. So we have an asset base in the United States that it's aged. Here at OPPD and state of Nebraska, we have transmission lines and generation facilities that are 40, 50, 60 years old or more. So there's a need for us to replace and modernize the fleet at the same time as we need to build more to meet the new electric demand. At the same time as many utilities like OPPD have plans to decarbonize the utility. So regardless of the demand growth or the age of the assets, there's also a desire to replace assets with lower emitting greenhouse assets. So these are three very large forces that are making us utilities have to build as fast as we can, as many megawatts as we can to meet the demand that the American economy is demanding.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Appreciate that. Director Williams. Thank you.
Are there any other directors who have questions, clarifying questions? Okay, I did want to clarify something. We talked on Tuesday. There are 6 different bullet points, and one of the bullet points talks specifically about the quarterly reporting on progress toward goals. And I wanted to appreciate the quarterly reports that we've seen over the last year in particular. That is something new that we developed with the last SD9 policy update, and requesting additional information for clarity for the board and for the public is very much appreciated. So thank you for those reports. That's, I think, bullet number 5, and that's gone very well. Glad to have that information available. Part number 6 specifically talks about the volumes of new capacity added by particular dates, and there's a chart that reflects individual projects and then the progress toward each of those. And so that was presented on Tuesday as well. And I had some questions about the way in which that was presented in previously quarterly reports and then in the annual monitoring report. So I guess my question had been, during the quarterly reports, the presentation included a pie chart that showed projects that have been completed and a portion that still reflected remaining renewables. And the objectives stated, for renewables specifically listed between 1,000 and 1,500 megawatts of new resources. The monitoring report includes 4 bullets that are all green, totaling to 1,000, but clarify that it's more than that, 1,000 megawatts of new capacity of renewable generation. And so I guess the question on Tuesday was, with a range from 1,000 to 1,500, the monitoring report reflecting that we have achieved everything that was stated, but the previous reports reflecting remaining renewables at about 180 megawatts. Are we anticipating additional procurement of new renewable resources to meet the growing load that we've talked about in the future? Or is the monitoring report reflecting that we have procured all the resources we need right now and that we do not anticipate additional procurement of new resources moving forward?
Thank you for the question. Let me address first the quarterly reporting. The quarterly reporting that we've been providing to the board, the title of that reporting is Near-Term Generation Update. Now, we've used the same table to maintain some consistency, but the purpose of those quarterly reports is to talk about projects, specific projects, project A, B, C, High Banks, Milligan, Pierce County, Turtle Creek Station, you name it. In there, of course, we show all of the projects, and this is where the pie chart comes in, and my count is correct. We have today about 1,320 megawatts of renewable capacity in the portfolio, 900 megawatts that is being built of natural gas generation. So that's what we've been presenting to the board. What we presented on Tuesday is, are we compliant with the minimum levels that the board asked us to comply during SD9? And so what we're showing there is that, yes, we're complying with all the minimum levels. We have more than 1,000, but we didn't show it that way because we're trying to make sure that we're reporting, are we in compliance with that? As to the question of, do we need more? We need more. We need more of everything, and we need it really fast. We will continue to look at opportunities to procure more generation. There is a process, however, where we will involve stakeholders, just like we did in 2022, 2023, where we have an integrated resource plan. In this case, I'm really excited because we're calling that an integrated system plan that looks at our transmission assets as well. So what is it that we need in the future to continue to serve and have available generation and transmission to our public? That process will take most of next year, and the plan is, as soon as that process is completed, sometime later in 2026 or early 2027, we will come with a formal presentation and proposal to the board, very likely to add more generation. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And I guess the question again is primarily about with regards to the range and the additional update that we would anticipate from the next integrated systems plan. Should we anticipate that there would be any new resources that would be procured between now and the time that the ISB is done? Because the board has provided authorization for additional procurement, and we have significant growth in load coming our way. And there are things that are happening, that external things that are having influence over the potential future of new types of resources. So I guess I'm just trying to understand, with the authorization that has been provided, do we believe that all the boxes are green and that no additional steps are being taken? Or do we think that authorization has been given and we are continuing to move forward?
Thank you. I think I get the question. I think it's hard for me to answer with a definitive question because there are many factors that affect that. You're absolutely correct. We have the authorization to enter into purchase power agreements with developers, and for which I don't need necessarily a board authorization, although these are very large purchases that cost a lot of money. And if we enter into these purchase agreements earlier than we have load or demand coming in, there's a financial pressure. So this is something that I need to talk to the board about and make those informed decisions. So it's hard for me to say, yes, we will, and how many or when. The need is there, right? The need for, in this case, for example, if it's renewable generation, if it's solar generation that provides some accreditation in the summer peak, but especially a lot of energy in the summer, that's important. We believe that from an energy perspective, we're okay for the next year or two. We do have some constraints in 2028. That has to be in balance with potentially natural gas generation. How are we gonna make those two work together? For natural gas generation, I do need the board to approve generation. So I guess the answer is maybe. For sure, we have load to meet, how soon and how this is going to happen, it will all depend on prices, it will depend on opportunities, and how can we, in a fiscally prudent manner, acquire those resources on a timely manner so that we can provide both reliable, available service that is also affordable.
Yeah, and I guess just for clarification of my question here, the uncertainty about the next steps moving forward after the authorization in SD9 comes on the heels of previous authorization from what was called Power with Purpose in 2019, which indicated up to 600 megawatts and for which 81 megawatts were procured. And that resolution was replaced by an additional resolution following resource planning, changing the goal to something new. So I guess I'm not clear what to anticipate now until the end of the integrated systems plan process at the end of 2026 as to the range. I mean, I guess we have met the minimum in the range, and the answer is we've met the minimum, and that's it. That's basically the bottom line, is that we have achieved the minimum that was listed in the range as written in the policy. And the presentation is for green boxes, everything is checked. And I mean, I guess I just want to clarify, I'm additionally sensitive to this because of how much discussion there was when we updated this policy at the beginning on the heels of a previous authorization for which fewer resources were procured than anticipated. And so I mentioned on Tuesday, as we look at this, I'm interested in how we should interpret what has been approved previously, what was presented in the monitoring report now, and what we should anticipate in future resource planning and policy updates to get clarity on what we think we will be getting in future resource procurements. So I don't know if that's a question specifically. I guess I'm just trying to clarify why it is that I had questions on Tuesday and why I was asking additional questions now, is that I feel like I have some uncertainty about what's been presented and what we should expect moving forward.
Can I just offer maybe a comment / question? And I appreciate the query, Director Williams. I don't have the table in front of me, but my recollection is that there were staggered timelines in which we were going to bring on these resources, correct? And so, could somebody, if you've got it up, remind me what the latest date is for?
Yeah,
2030?
26, 28, and 2030.
Okay, so to summarize, we've brought on, what was it, 1,320 megawatts of renewables? And we don't need to get into the other ones for purposes of today, but 1,320 megawatts of renewables, which fits about somewhere in the middle, roughly, maybe in the upper 2/3 of the 1,000 to 1,500 range by 2025, right? And we've got till 2030. So I guess I think, Javier, to your point, we've got the ISP coming. That's going to give us a lot of visibility into what's coming next. You have the authorization to move forward if you can, given the timeline that we've got in front of us. I'm pretty comfortable giving you the space on that remaining 180 as informed by the ISP coming forward that you can move, given the timeline, right? Like to your point, let's match up to the extent that we can match up the demand with the supply and thereby limiting the financial pressure. I think that's a valuable exercise, especially given the fact that we set aside a timeline that took us to 2030, right? And the lead time's long, right? But it seems like we've got some space between now and 2030.
And I would say, if I may just, and thank you for the question. And for the benefit of the public, since 2023, by nameplate capacity only, not a credit, but nameplate capacity, we have more than doubled our renewable generation portfolio. We started with 971 megawatts to our name of wind, and today we have significantly more than doubled that. So we've delivered that 5 years in advance. Are we going to need more? Very likely, but I would like to wait for the ISP to continue to inform us. But that's not to say that if an opportunity presents itself and we think that it's a prudent action, I will bring it to the board and we'll have a conversation.
Thanks, appreciate the discussion. Anybody have any additional questions? Okay, Director Corr.
Thank you all. Do any members of the public in the room have a comment on this action item? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium.
Cheryl Weston, 1822 Emmett Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Yes, I do. Thank you for those discussions and those questions that were asked because it made things go around in my head. And you probably don't want to hear that, but anyway, if all of this is renewable, that you have, that you're going to need more for the grid, and you're expecting because of more requests for power and stuff, I would like to make sure that it goes on the record. North Omaha is not going to accept that as an excuse to not close the coal plant. So we're giving notice now. We need to make sure that this is not used as a way to keep the coal plant open. And if you want to clarify anything on that, and each time that you keep increasing this renewable power or the grid, how is that affecting us, the consumer? You're getting more requests for power from major corporations or data centers or whatever, but who's paying for that? How is that going to affect us, your residential customers? Thank you.
Yeah, go right ahead. Thank you for your comment.
Thank you. And if I can elaborate on just following on the previous discussion, I think it's important, a good conversation. In the case of North Omaha, for example, replacing that asset means I need to purchase something else to replace that energy and that capacity to serve the same homes, to serve the same people that we've been serving for a long time. I will tell you today, unequivocally, all those new assets are more expensive. They have good environmental attributes, and they have a lot of other things that the board has asked me to deliver. But since you mentioned economics and the affordability, that is an issue. I just wanted to clarify that.
All right. Yes, sir. Come on up.
It will have an upward pressure on rates. The question is what after the North Omaha plant is converted and we are procuring more and more renewable generation, how is this going to affect affordability? And I don't have all the numbers in front of us, but it would have an upward pressure on rates. Thank you.
My name is Thomas J. Nenneman. I live at 7212 North 76th Street. It's just west of Emmanuel Hospital. The biggest concern with use of coal, I think everybody's missing the boat. This is not a money issue. You put out mercury, which is known for decades to cause neurological problems to children. There's also nitric oxide. There's several different types of toxins that are put in the air. To me, what's more important, the health of people or the money and the output? And I do know that I believe AI has probably signed some big where they use the AI, and that's a high energy using situation. This winter is probably the best time to get this plant transferred over to gas, to natural gas, to be able to not cause bodily harm to people in the future. Because if you don't do it now, you have already said that that power is going to raise. You're going to need more, and more. My question is to the board here, what's more important, people's health, or maybe having to stop a future plan for something else that will bring up energy for every business that wants to come in, or for people? That's all my idea. Sorry, I don't know how to put it any other way.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. If you have a second, CO Fernandez is going to clarify a little bit of that.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't want to make you wait. Really briefly, I would like to call Cliff Fleener, our Vice President of Environmental Affairs, to clarify mercury, for example. There were a few things that were said, and very important to acknowledge the comments and maybe share some statistics about the North Omaha plan, especially as it pertains to mercury. And can you share with us what?
Absolutely, Javier. Well, our emissions overall are down. There you go. Our emissions are down 40% overall. Mercury is down 90%, which means that we're actually about 50% below the maximum amount of mercury that we could release under law. So we've declined our mercury at HCl and particulate matter both have achieved low emitter status for the facility, which means they're all more than 50% below the highest level that we'd be allowed legally to emit. Overall, all pollutants since 2015 are down by about well over 40% at the facility.
Thanks, Cliff. Go ahead.
David Begley, 4611 South 96th Street. CEO Fernandez did answer the question about how there will be an upward pressure on rates as you continue to foolishly add renewables. I don't even call them renewables, it's solar and wind. And woman here shouted out, well, how's it going to affect rates? Well, I can tell you exactly how it's going to affect rates. If we can look to Spain and Germany and all the rest of Europe, their rates are 3 to 5 times as much as the U.S. average. OPPD is lower than the U.S. average. And the other thing is Spain in April of this year saw a nationwide blackout because they had 78% renewables. So it just strikes me as incredibly foolish and irresponsible to keep adding these renewables. They're unreliable and they're expensive. So really the prudent thing, as I've told you many times, is to terminate policy. But for some reason, this board is married to that whole idea. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Right. My name's Dr. Joseph Edward Braddock. I live at 9818 North 34th Street, Omaha, Nebraska. Ponca Hills, just a little bit north of historic Florence. So I'm not here representing any particular organization, but as a resident of Northern Omaha, I am present as a concerned citizen and a medical professional that's uniquely qualified to weigh in on the impact that a coal-fired plant has on the health of our community. I brought with me written materials that I hope you'll look at over the course of this meeting. There's quite a bit of facts and data in there that I hope you take a look at. I also gave you a stack of cited journal articles talking about the effects that coal burning plants have on the health of our communities. But to summarize what I prepared, coal burning plants create a great health disparity in our community. This is not new data. It's been known for decades that coal burning plants increase respiratory disease and cardiorespiratory disease. In addition to this, it increases the all cancer risk of these populations that live near coal-fired plants. Communities that live within 5 kilometers of a coal burning plant, which, you know, compared to me, that's probably about a mile away from my home where my son lives. These populations will suffer because of it. Coal burning plants increase the risk of asthma exacerbations and COPD exacerbations, which is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and all cardiorespiratory morbidity and mortality. That means complications as well as overall death related to these things. Meaning you are more likely to get sicker, be sicker, and die if you live near or are exposed to coal emissions. This does not even take into account long-term complications it has for increasing your risk of developing cancer. Communities that are exposed to coal emissions are much more likely to develop lung cancer due to the emission exposure. And that's even just varied on the height of the coal stacks that are there. It might be communities even outside of that zip code that are exposed to coal emissions just because of the stacks. You're also more likely to have your children develop neurodevelopmental issues by living in areas that are exposed to coal emissions. And honestly, I think it's funny that we even have to have an acceptable amount of pollutants that we're okay with having our children exposed to. Having heavy metal particulate matter that gets deposited in our children's brains and causes cancer.
30 seconds.
It affects our most socioeconomic challenged populations as well. They have a higher risk of developing asthma exacerbations, COPD exacerbations. And the thing that we're doing by putting this off is we are writing checks that the bodies of our children are going to have to cash. Their health will be affected. Ours is being affected, whether we know it or not. So I urge the board to quit postponing closing down this coal-fired plant and think about the health of our communities and the impact that it has on us. If you have any questions for me, I would be more than happy to answer them, since I believe I have the expertise to do so.
All right, thank you for your comment. I don't see any other ma'am, I'm going to clarify really quick. Right now, we're talking about our integrated system planning monitoring report and our board's approval of that. I welcome all the comments and appreciate them very much. I think some of the topics related to North Omaha might be better saved for the opportunity for district business at the end of the meeting, if that's all right with folks. Thank you. Any other comments on the room for our SD9 monitoring report?
My name is Ben Stallings. My address is 2811 North 49th Avenue in Omaha. If I understand correctly, the discussion about this item, OPPD is obligated to provide power to all customers in the area. And you're dealing with additional customers that you did not anticipate when you set your goals. I work in information technology. I'm very much exposed to the bubble that we're experiencing right now, where data centers are being built that will not be needed 5 years, 10 years in the future, because of the rate of the technology developing. My question for you is, why do new customers that you did not anticipate, did not plan on, why do they not have to pay the additional costs of adding the additional capacity? It seems like the ratepayers that you did plan on, who were part of the plan to begin with, should not have to pay the additional costs of the additional capacity for these new customers that are just coming on the scene now. That's my question.
Thank you. Do you want to speak to that?
Thank you so much for the question. This is a question that I hear very often. If I can clarify, I'm going to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Brad Underwood, to come in and talk a little bit about the cost allocation, who pays for what, and what I mentioned earlier to your question, Director Spurgeon, the margin that we are required to have to serve the same number of people has increased, right? So there is a cost that we all have to pay for that increased capacity margin that we have to carry because of the frequency and magnitude of rolling blackouts that have been happening all across the country. So there's a piece that we have to carry because we are lowering the probability of blackouts, which is important for us. But there's also additional capacity that we are bringing to meet customers' demands. Brad?
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. We need more resources for the same amount of load. I think many times that can understandably get overlooked. One of the ways that we set our rates, actually the primary way, is called a cost of service. The cost of service is a standard allocation methodology throughout the utility industry. Law requires that the rates are fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory. So when we create a rate for a customer, we create that rate based on the costs that they basically obligate us to bear. And so the rates are derived based on the cost to serve the customer, based on how they're using the system. And it's been that way for a number of decades now. There's a legal precedent that affirms this methodology, but it is certainly a reasonable question to ask.
So all customers, to the extent we can, through this cost of service model, they pay their fair share. And we'll have more discussions here in the next few months as we present the corporate operating plan, the budget. That'll be an item of discussion. We'll have more, but I really appreciate the question because that is usually in customer owners' minds, and I think it's important to continue clarifying that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And one more reminder real quick, sir. We're on our SD9 monitor report, so there will absolutely be. Okay, go ahead.
Name's Dan Jackson. Grandchildren. Plan has been to close those coal plants for the last 3 years. I have a specific question. It's already been addressed by a number of people. I've done quite a lot of research in the last couple of weeks. The data centers, do they have a contract with you all that you will provide the power they need? Because they're building acres and acres of capacity for themselves. Are we, because you guys just represent us, do you have a contract with them to give them the confidence to keep on building and building? I can't find it anywhere in the minutes. It may be that I haven't looked far enough. So that's my question. If keeping tie in with some of what's been said, if capacity is going to increase and anybody who goes near those building sites, it's going to increase. Do we have a contract to provide them? Do they have the confidence to do that? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, any other comments in the room on our SD9 monitoring report? Seeing none, are there any comments online?
David Corbin.
Man, we can provide answers. I just don't want to get in the habit of going back and forth all night. So the period to comment on SD9 is right now, not to keep continuing going back and forth. Yeah, we can speak to those things. Thank you. Yeah. You want to go ahead? Okay. Yeah, go right ahead.
I'll answer as quickly as I can. Large customers, and I am not at the liberty of talking about specific customers because that's privacy for privacy reasons. But I can tell, generally speaking, large customers, especially data center customers, tend to elect service from us on the rate 261M. You can look that up on our rate manual. And what that means is OPPD, generally speaking, provides a capacity for these data centers where these data center companies, I'm going to use the term loosely, they bring their own generation. So a lot of these data centers, they own or have purchase power agreements with very large wind and solar facilities. They offset their energy use with the output of that facility. So they are bringing their own resources when it comes to energy, and we provide that capacity. In terms of how do we make sure that they stay here and that they don't just come a couple of years and leave, we do have contractual mechanisms where, and not just data centers, any large customer, they get to pay upfront a large amount of money for the infrastructure we have to build. And then to the extent that they stay with us and they use power, we typically credit them back because those assets are owned by the district. So I hope I answered the question.
All right, thank you. Dr. Corbin, can you hear me? Go ahead, sir, if you can hear us.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go right
Okay.
ahead.
Sorry about that. It came up several times. David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing the Nebraska Sierra Club. Regarding SD9, I will expand a little bit on what I said in the committee meeting comments. What is lacking and what is kind of referred to with some of the other concerns that people had is that there's nothing about planning for distributed energy resources. And since Tuesday, I've been doing a lot of research to find out what other people are doing. And for example, Walmart is using Bloom Energy so that people, big data centers or other big users of electricity have their own on-site off-grid energy, and that then takes the pressure off OPPD to put more transmission lines and more plants. And so I didn't see much of anything in SD9 about what your plans are for distributed energy resources. I contacted today the CEO of the chamber and my city councilman because they've expressed concerns about bringing businesses to Omaha, and it seems to me there needs to be some kind of plan, some kind of incentive to say, will you create a certain percent? And the webinar I was on today said that some data centers they need to ramp up really fast and then go way down and go really fast and go way down. That doesn't help the grid. So that's why it's good for them, and we could incentivize them to have their own energy that's off the grid. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments online? No? Okay. Do any directors or Javier, do you want to make any comments before we move on? No? Okay, Ms. Lane, take the roll, please.
Bogner,
Yes.
Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Core,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Hudson,
Yes.
Moody,
Yes.
Spurgeon,
Yes.
Williams.
Abstain.
Motion carries 7-0.
Yeah, yes, sorry, I'm making a note real quick. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. This time I'm going to do a president's report. As I always start, I usually go through the status of our generation fleet that I was describing earlier today with the diversification of generation. I will start first with our base load generation. These statistics are for the month of August of 2025. All stations, Nebraska City 1, 2, and North Omaha 4 had 100%, almost 100% availability. North Omaha 5 unit was in outage for 5 days for a tube leak repair. You can see very high capacity factors. These units operated as they were designed to operate in the heat of the summer, providing that base load with good availability. Next is our balancing generation, which consists of our natural gas and fuel oil plants. Cass County generation, the Cass County units 1 and 2, 100% availability. Jones Street, 99% availability. Sarpy County in the high 90s, 98, 95% availability. Turtle Creek Station, this is an important one. This is the first month that I get to report on Turtle Creek Station capacity factor. This station came online on June 17 of 2025. So not even 2 months in, and now it's going to 3 months in. Capacity factor of 33%, so 98% available and very high capacity factor. The market has been using it a lot, and it's really showing how important it was to bring this generation online on a timely manner. North Omaha units 1, 2, and 3 had a 78, 100, and 100% availability. You can see that those units also saw some significant activity for the month of August. Again, helping the rest of the system stay healthy and providing that reliability that all of us enjoy. And the third and very, very important piece of our portfolio, again, they all play together really well. They all complement each other. This is our renewable generation portfolio as of the month of August. Capacity factor for all renewables was 35.1%. That includes also the capacity factor for hydro resources that we get through our contract with the federal government. Capacity factor for solar, 26.7%, especially the community solar, and then Platteview solar, 25.4%. These capacity factors went up. If you recall, earlier in the year, in the spring, capacity factors for solar were lower, as irradiance is not as high, but this is where we expect these type of capacity factors coming in with longer days, more irradiance on our solar facilities. Capacity factor for wind, a very healthy 31%. And I say very healthy for this time of the year, which usually doesn't get as much capacity factor for wind. These will see a lot more capacity factors as we go into the shoulder months, what we call shoulder months in the fall season. We typically see a pickup on wind capacity factor. Next slide, please. AMI meter installations will begin in October. This is very exciting, at least for us, all my colleagues at OPPD. We've been working really hard on these. And we will do a soft launch in specific areas. Approximately 30 days prior to install, we are hosting open houses in or near each of the soft launch area. For those who cannot attend in person, we are offering 4 online presentations. All events are open to the public and everyone is welcome to attend. And again, as a reminder, this is going to take a long time. This is a soft launch where we are planning to deploy about 11,000 meters. And what we're doing, we are choosing the areas strategically, and in areas where we know there's high tree concentrations or hills, or where the communication could become a challenge. We're deploying these 11,000 meters to make sure that we're testing not only the meter and how they connect to the system, but also the communication. So if you receive one of these notices, that means that your home will be part of the soft launch. It will take us a while. After the soft launch, we will evaluate, we'll test, we'll modify and calibrate whatever we need to do with the meters before we go on and start replacing all 415,000 meters we have in our service territory. That is expected to continue all the way through 2028. Next slide. City Sprouts Community Garden was selected in 2024 to receive $71,630 for upgrades to improve accessibility and sustainability, and that work is now complete. The grant has enabled the installation of accessible walkways, the purchase of adaptive gardening tools, and the addition of solar panels and wayfinding signage, ensuring the garden is truly welcoming to all. This funding represents OPPD's commitment to fostering a sustainable future through community involvement and support for local initiatives. The Greener Together program, which helped fund this initiative, is currently in the middle of its 2025 funding cycle and will be announcing awarded projects in October. You can see pictures here of the celebration with our own Director Spurgeon. Thank you for attending the event and representing. And last but not least, as we always do here, it is a good reminder of the work that we do. Is incredibly important for the community as we are providing energy for everything, for modern life. But that energy sometimes could be hazardous if we don't, and that's one of the reasons why safety, we begin all meetings with a safety message. This is a reminder and in memoriam of those who we lost in the line of duty. Ken Kitchen died on December 27, 2000, after he was struck by a vehicle alongside West Dodge Road while he was trying to clear debris from under another car. Ken was 53 years old at the time of his death, and he had been with OPPD for 26 years. He was survived by his wife, Cindy, son, Josh, daughter, Jennifer, and by his parents, a brother, and 2 sisters. And that, Chair Court, concludes my president's report.
All right, thank you. Are there any members of the public in the room that have a comment on other items of district business? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium and state your name, address, and any person or organization you represent.
David Bagley, 4611 South 96th Street. I gave a presentation, a speech to the South Dakota Stock Growers Association in July. It's on YouTube and it's called CAGW, the biggest scam in the history of the world. And here we have an imaginary problem, which is climate change. Carbon dioxide is a trace gas. And the Greens are intent on preventing an increase to 0.05 or 0.06. How can this be a threat to future human life on Earth in the year 2100? Why should OPPD spend millions, maybe billions on an imaginary problem? We had the passing this week of the great actor, Robert Redford. One of his big movies was The Sting, and it was about a con game. David Mamet is one of our greatest screenwriters, playwrights, and directors, and he wrote a book this year, The Disenlightenment. He's really the expert on con games. He's done 3, 4 movies here on con games. So I'm taking these quotes from Mr. Mamet's book. The confidence man only works his game on marks likely to succumb to the lowest cost in energy and time. The do-gooder always becomes the tool or the prey of the rapacious. That would be Wall Street and the politicians. The do-gooder has advertised himself as one who is willing to pay for the right to refrain from doing the math. That is a great phrase. Refrain from the right to doing the math. Who are these marks? Well, it's at least half the population. They think climate change is a real deal and the United States can solve it. So Mamet is clued in, and he knows global warming is an imaginary problem. And so politicians can endlessly exploit the issue because there is no danger of a cure. While an individual person is powerless to save the world, some people think that as a united group, they can do it. So this is how the con works. The time starts now. The individual voter is using his power to save
30 seconds.
and the mark is realizing his power. He's been flattered out of his money. So here's the fatal flaw in the CAGW scam. Al Gore and all the rest of them said, we're going to have all these terrible things happen. They've been wrong 47 times, 47 times. But Wall Street fixed the problem, and they said, we must achieve net zero by 2050 or otherwise the world will burn up in 2100. The thing of it is, we'll all be dead by 2100. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your comments. Anybody else in the room?
Hi, my name is Connor Nichols. I'm here as a representative of Conservation Nebraska. Our address here in Omaha is the Barbara Weiss CEC, located at 6400 South University Drive Road North, Omaha, Nebraska, 68182. As a nonprofit organization dedicated to encouraging conservation and environmental stewardship, we at Conservation Nebraska wanted to state that we support the OPPD board's continued focus and efforts to transition the North Omaha station away from coal and reduce the emissions released by the power plant. By burning coal, pollutants such as lead, mercury, nitrogen oxides, sulfur dioxide, and particulate matter can spread among nearby communities and increase rates of diseases like asthma, various types of cancer and cardiovascular diseases, birth defects, and more. According to the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America, Omaha ranked 9th in a list of the most difficult cities in the United States to live for a person with asthma. Tonight, many of your customers are here to also show support for your efforts in moving away from coal. Could everyone in the audience that's here to show support please raise their hand? Thank you. In addition to those in the room, we have several others online, as well as many individuals who were unable to attend but nonetheless wish to express their support to the board. While many of us in the Omaha community were decidedly disappointed by the partial shutdown and transition deadline extension, we understand that it was not an easy decision and was made largely in response to changing standards within the Southwest Power Pool. With the addition of both the Turtle Creek and Standing Bear gas plants, and assuming that OPPD follows through in the planned addition of 1,500 megawatts of new renewables, we would expect that OPPD is in a prime position to follow through on their promise to the Omaha community to shift away from the aging, polluting, and costly coal-fueled generators. As OPPD continues to take steps towards transitioning the North Omaha station away from coal, we want to emphasize that you are doing so with the support of your customers, constituents, and organizations like Conservation Nebraska. We hope that the work continues quickly and that by later next year, it will be completed on schedule. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
We're going to help you with the
you-
microphone. Just 1 second, ma'am.
Down. Is this, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello. I'm an environmental artist. My name is Charlene Potter. I live at 4321 Larimore Avenue, Omaha, Nebraska. And as an environmental artist, I'm intuitive and the extreme weather is not getting any better. I want to take this time to thank the OPPD board for all the hard work over the years for creating these dramatic changes that have made a difference in an effort to combat extreme weather and keep the electricity on in all our homes. Living in my home in North Omaha for 47 years, thank you very much, I've witnessed the struggles of my diverse community. When the closure of the coal plant will significantly improve our air quality. Many of us, as everyone has talked about, including myself, battle allergies triggered by allergens, smoke, and chemicals. This closure is not a policy change, but a lifeline for our health. It is imperative to maintain the quality of clean air for the present and the future. Baby animals and birds cannot survive in poor air quality. In other words, baby anything cannot survive if the air quality is poor. Protecting clean air and water needs to be a high priority in every decision-making process for better environmental health as well as human health. Thank you. Thanks goes out to all the people that work through the night during the storms. Keep them safe to turn on the lights on another day. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
My name is Roger Carroll. I live at 417 North 38th Avenue. I'm here. People have asked me to speak for a minute or two. I lived in North Omaha since 1972. By choice, I lived in North Omaha that time. I was deeply disappointed a few years ago when the coal plant stayed open. That coal plant has been important. I think OPPD is known across the country for reliable power, for power that's affordable. That's very important to the people in this community. You know that, I know that, we know that, but cost of coal is deeply felt in my community. I've been working for the last 3 years at Sacred Heart Community in North Omaha. We have a community garden there. We work right next to the school. The children's voices sound exactly like the children's voices in schools that I've heard all my life. And I just want to emphasize that coal plant is 70 years old. I had lunch today with someone who grew up 70 years ago. He grew up about 6 blocks from that plant. It's still working. We all know it's an old plant. We know there are better ways to generate the power that we need. So that's all I have to say. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Terrell McKinney. I reside at 5319 North 30th Street. I am also the Land Justice Director with Bold Alliance. And I passed out a community survey that we did, and some of the highlights were just showing a widespread concern of air quality and health. Residents feel their environmental health is unchanged or getting worse. And also that, the people of North Omaha do not feel like they've been treated fairly and are asking for a seat at the table. Most importantly, the community wants you guys to keep your promise to close the coal plant. This started in 2014 and it is now 2025. The community feels as though you've had more than enough time to figure this out. We also have been doing a petition with residents of the community, and so far we have 383 petition signers. And we also want you to understand that closing the coal plant is one step, but gas does not make our community and our air quality that much more healthier. Gas still has risk and is also a threat to the health of the community. So more than just transitioning from coal, you need to get beyond gas as well. And you also cannot put economics over the health of people in the community. You made a promise to the people. Don't let economics change, make you not, keep your promise, because that is wrong. Helping large corporations while also potentially and most likely raising rates at the end of the year is also a concern of the people, and it's honestly unacceptable. They should be bringing their own energy or figuring out a way to bring their own energy if they want to come into our market. It shouldn't be at the expense of our communities. Emissions are down, yes, but pollution still exists. And contrary to some belief, climate change is real, and in 2021, our kids will still be here, and it's our responsibility to leave this place better than what we had when we came in. So that's important, and I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Elaine Wells. I live at 5005 Reed Street, which is north of Sorensen Parkway. I was a member of a team of people who came to almost every OPPD board meeting in the year before you decided to go to more renewables and to close the North Omaha coal plant. I'm amazed to see that we still haven't gotten that done, because we were thrilled at that time to see that you were making progress and becoming one of the most progressive cities in the nation in terms of energy production. I remember we were almost interviewed by Newsweek magazine because they were saying Omaha is so much more progressive than a lot of other cities our size. So I beg you, we cannot let financial considerations outweigh the health and the safety of not only people who are living today, but of the environment, which will sustain us into the future. So I hope we will be continuing to be as progressive as we were back in, I think it was 2014. Please close that plant.
I'm Maylee Mason, 9632 North 34th Street. I represent the North Omaha Commercial Club, which is primarily in the Florence area, which is in the shadow of the North plant. Number one, I'd like to thank OPPD and Javier for meeting with us for the last couple of years. And during these meetings, one of the primary things that was said to us was that you will close the 2 coal burning chimneys and transfer that to natural gas. What I am asking is, please keep your promise.
Good afternoon. My name is Bill Bevins. I'm from Waverly, Nebraska, 5200 North 148th Street. And I've been asked, why would, and what we do is we raise chickens for Smart Chicken, who has processing plant there at Tecumseh, Nebraska. And I've been asked why am a farmer as such here to talk to you about a coal plant in Omaha. And the answer is because I was raised in the state with an idea, and that is that Nebraskans are kind of special people, and we're unique people, and we have something that's exemplified by how we envision Tom Osborne and how he achieved what they achieved, doing it the right way and not cutting corners. And as the doctor so aptly said, it's just very, very sad that
there are actual legal limits of contamination that we can let exist in communities where children are growing up. And so, as Nebraskans, we're all neighbors. We're all in this together. That's why I'm here. There's so many better ways to generate electricity that you're using now, and you know more about generating electricity than I ever will. But I'm just here to encourage you in every way possible to keep the promise that you made to the people, close the plant.
Good evening. My name is Randolph Noriega. I live at 1440 South 13th Street in Omaha, 68108. I've been a resident of this town for about 3 months now, and it is absolutely beautiful, and I'm falling more and more in love with it every day. As a new resident to Omaha, I was shocked and horrified to learn that the North Omaha station is the city's largest polluter. Both the air and the water in the city are affected by emissions from the station. That shock turned to relief when I learned that OPPD planned to phase coal out of the plant and largely remove it from commission. In fact, I'm shocked hearing that CEO Javier Fernandez speak so highly of coal when the last extension tied to a commitment to follow through with the net zero goals, and that made me confident that the plan will succeed. I know OPPD will follow through with this because of its commitment to a reliable and affordable energy. Coming from Florida, we do not have a large renewable portfolio. To address an issue with costs related to renewables, Tampa Electric is almost all fossil fuels and has the third highest rates in the country. Additionally, Florida Power and Light just received a $2 billion rate increase again for nearly all fossil fuel portfolio. I'm grateful that OPPD board has committed to a clean and diverse modern portfolio. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for your commitment to ensure that the North Omaha station, a blight on this city, will finally be closed. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Hello, my name is Philip Alcazar. I live at 602 North 3rd Street in Bellevue. And this past weekend, I was involved in the pilgrimage for Hope for Creation. It is a pilgrimage these are pilgrimages that are happening all over the country and the world. It comes out of the Catholic Climate Covenant. And this year is a Jubilee year for Catholics. It's the 800th anniversary of the Canticle of Creation from St. Francis of Assisi. And it's the 10th anniversary of the Laudato Si encyclical written by Pope Francis. So during this pilgrimage that we had, in which we prayerfully walked from Miller Park to the North Omaha coal-fired power station. We had close to 100 participants, and many of them and several more, to total 150, signed a letter asking the following for the board and the leadership to follow these points: to accelerate the transition away from coal and ensure no further delays in retiring the North Omaha Station's coal burning units; to publicly commit to a just transition, including protections for workers; and to continue and expand transparency and community engagement in North Omaha, including regular reporting on emissions, accessible public forums, partnerships with local health and environmental groups. So thank you very much for allowing me to speak. Thank you.
back. Cheryl Weston. I just wanted to say, and kind of ditto on what Maylee had mentioned. Yes, Javier, you have been in contact and attended several meetings with our ad hoc committee, and we appreciate that. And we want you to know that we understand the problems and the cost and so forth, but I would like to piggyback on what was said. Is the economic cost greater than the health benefits, the cost of our children, the cost to the future, their lives? I know one of the commissioners just recently had a baby, so she can understand. Is this what you want to leave for this future generation? As Senator McKinney said, we should leave it better than we found it. And that's why we are here. We will be here every month to just remind the board that we want you to address with the administrative, executive, management team to fulfill the promise that was given to the North Omaha residents. Close the coal plant in 2026. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Braddock again, 9818 North 34th Street, Omaha, Nebraska, just north of Florence. So with the discussion about this, I understand you're all here to help us. OPPD is there every day with us in our lives through the power that you guys distribute to our communities. And it's there in the hospitals, it's there in my clinic when I'm working. But the reality that I deal with on a day is that I deal with the health of our community as well as you do. And there are costs to having coal-fired plants. Like I discussed with those increased incidents of respiratory illnesses. Some of the things that you don't have to see on the back end of using a coal-fired plant is if you've ever held a toddler in your arms while you're watching them suck skin between the ribs, struggling to breathe from an asthma exacerbation. Or if you have been in an ICU dealing with somebody whose family is on last legs as they're being intubated because of lung cancer or something else along those lines. Those are the human costs of continuing to push forward and potentially postpone the plan. And I do believe that OPPD is there with us and wanting what's best for our community. That's why we're having the discussion. But for those of us that are not necessarily in this for an altruistic viewpoint, there are definitely some financial and economic benefits to transitioning away. And some of those are just in our healthcare costs. If you don't know what the average cost for Medicare was for a COPD exacerbation just in the state of Nebraska, that cost us $216 million in the state and related healthcare costs. For, I believe it was either for all respiratory illness or just for asthma exacerbations in Nebraska, the rough estimate came out to, I believe 516 million. So you want to talk about costs of, what are we going to do in terms of moving forward? We pay for the cost in human lives, in illnesses, in your family members, our family members, and the community as a whole, or we bite the bullet and we make
30
the
seconds.
transition to move towards, as I said, natural gas isn't as the best thing ever, but it is better than what we're doing now. And our community is suffering and we have increased deaths. North Omaha has one of the highest rates of asthma deaths in the entire state, which is ridiculous. And I think that we need to do what's right for our community and continue to push forward. And I believe that OPPD is going to do what's right for their families and for ours and for the community.
Hello, I'm Gloria Becker-Ryle, address 10517 Y Street, Omaha. I'd just like to speak as a mother.
all three of my boys have had, they're older now, they're in their 40s, late 30s, 40s, but they've all had breathing problems. So I've been through all the, one son has had 8 sinus surgeries. He still suffers from asthma. Omaha, we can do better than this for our kids. My mother died of lung cancer. She was a non-smoker. I don't say it was because of the Omaha plant, but if you ever lived through a real healthy person dying in 11 months from stage 4 lung cancer, I mean, I wish I could share how she looked at the beginning and how she looked at the end. She was a very, very strong person, and it just decimated her health. I'd say right now to you, if you aren't willing to live in North Omaha by that plant with your family and your grandkids right now, then you should not be having other people in Omaha experience that. So make it personal. Think about your family and what you would do. And climate change is not a myth. It is happening, and the world scientists agree on that. There's a lot of powers that want you to think this is not happening, but it is. I mean, just do a science experiment, take some chemistry or physics. When you do things to atmosphere, you do things, there's a reaction. And that's happening, and we can do something here in Omaha. And I appreciate it if you would continue with your plans to close the power plant and to incorporate renewables. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other comments in the room? Thank you all for your comments. Are there any comments online? Okay, Stephen B., can you hear me?
It's Jackie Belcher. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Excellent. So I am a member of the 24th Street Family of Parishes. As Phil mentioned, we held an event over the weekend to kind of show support for this transition away from the coal power plant. I am also a resident at 5404 North 7505 North 54th Plaza. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. 68152. And I just wanted to reiterate, not only is this a real moral imperative. If the anecdotes about, people struggling to breathe don't touch your soul, and if the science doesn't touch your soul, there's also an outright moral imperative, as well as a lot of strong public sentiment in support of this transition. I wanted to say thank you for giving us the space to, make comments about this. Thank you for letting us, for hearing us, and wanted to once again draw your attention to that letter that we brought you on Tuesday, with all of those signatures in support of this transition. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Dr. Corbin, go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. David Corbin, 1002 North 49th Street, representing Nebraska Sierra Club. I just wanted to, I'll just echo all the things as a public health professional for over 40 years, echo the concerns about health and about the North Omaha plant. So you've heard that. I think you know the sentiments of the community. I'm glad that Robert Redford's name was brought up because it reminded me that he championed countless environmental causes throughout his lifetime, from protecting America's wild places to advocating for climate action. He left a legacy of profound environmental stewardship, and he helped to make the world a better place. So I know that you all know that climate change is real, despite what other people say. So there's just one last thing that I wanted to say, and I don't know if you've been working with the city of Omaha on this or not, but I did note that the city of Lincoln now has a $3,000, I believe it is, incentive for heat pumps. And I'm wondering if OPPD and City of Omaha have worked together to try to do something similar. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments?
John Pollock.
Mr. Pollock, go ahead.
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street, Omaha. I would echo the many voices of people in the room who have requested that you keep to the schedule and close the North Omaha coal plants in a timely manner. Regarding the forecast, we have a pretty slow-moving weather pattern the rest of the month, actually. We're looking at normal to above normal temperatures on the average. Probably pretty benign late summer, early fall weather. No particular danger of any storms. A good period. I know you use the shoulder months to do maintenance, and you're probably looking at a period of good weather without any significant problems, at least through the end of September. For the further into the fall, we're probably going to develop a weak La Nina pattern, but once again, this is unlikely to have a major impact on our weather. So we're not looking at anything extraordinary that we can anticipate, at least at the moment. I would like, if there is anybody amongst the board or officers who is in doubt because they've heard a description of carbon dioxide being a trace gas in the atmosphere, I would like to reflect that the ability to make weather forecasts at all is based on physics. And the physics of carbon dioxide is not something you can get around. It is a greenhouse gas. It traps heat in the lower part of the atmosphere. Not only that, but through the additional heat, it also allows the evaporation of additional water, which is also a greenhouse gas. So the two act in synergy. You may have heard a description of carbon dioxide as a trace gas. This is rather misleading. In one sense, it's a trace, but its action in the atmosphere is unique. By analogy, the action of iron in your bloodstream. This is also a trace metal in your bloodstream. Thank you. Trace metal at about the same concentration as CO2 in the atmosphere. But if you have too little of it, you've got anemia. If you've got too much of it, you're also in medical danger. It's the same deal. We need to have a safe level of carbon dioxide or we will suffer as a planet. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Anthony Rogers Wright.
Go ahead, sir, if you can hear me.
Rogers Wright, 3010 Lincoln Boulevard, Omaha, Nebraska. I am the Fannie Lou Hamer Vision Fellow, Policy Fellow for the Movement for Black Lives, and the Climate Coordinator for the Black Alliance for Peace. First, I would like to bring your attention to a report released by the Sierra Club in 2018 entitled "Climate Deniers Are More Likely to Be Racist. Why?" Therein, the report says people who do not believe that climate change is real are more likely to be old, more likely to be Republican, more likely to be white, and they are more likely to hold racist beliefs. This is very, very important because one phrase that we have not heard all night is that of environmental racism. Unfortunately, OPPD is practicing environmental racism by keeping that coal power open, but even transitioning to fracked or methane gas would continue a legacy of environmental racism, disproportionately impacting poor, Black, brown, and indigenous people to methane gas. According to the American Lung Association, when gas leaks or is burned from wells, other pollutants are released that cause cancer from volatile organic compounds, including nitrous oxides and other VOCs that are harmful to lungs and also form ground level ozone. This idea that frack gas is a bridge fuel from coal has been debunked by numerous climate scientists around the world who in fact call it a gangplank to climate chaos. In closing, I just want to say this. The landmark report, Toxic Waste and Race in the United States, released by the United Church of Christ in 1987, said one very important thing. Racism can be exercised both consciously and unconsciously, as well as intentionally and unintentionally. Finally, it is very significant that the Sierra Club released that report because the Sierra Club itself was founded by a white supremacist named John Muir. It is incumbent upon OPPD to follow science, stop bamboozling people with the idea that frack gas is cleaner. It is 80 times more heat trapping in the short term, and I've already read all the health ailments that you are about to expose North Omahans to. Do the right thing, shut it down, serve the people, do not serve corporations and their data centers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments online? No? Okay, without any other comments online, are there any directors that'd like to make? All right, well, thank you everyone for your presence here tonight. Thanks for your engagement, and with that, our meeting's adjourned.